You have to be able to handle every objection that you're going to get in almost 10 different ways. You have to be able
Yeah.
to handle. You are going to get objections like, "Oh, I just want a quote. I just wanted to see it today. I only want 50,000 or whatever I want $1 million and I'm 85 years old." You've got to find ways to level set expectations with these people too without bringing them down completely.
If you want to thrive and if you want to be successful,
Welcome to VIPAs, the game plan call.
So, if you guys didn't know already, Cole is at what, 20 years old, right? You're about to be 21 this year, though, right?
20 years old, turning 21 in June.
The future right here. 20 years old. Cole's coming off of a really hot month. Last month, Cole dropped $37,000 in business. Right? Obviously, he was working like a madman, but he was able to get it done. Working what, 5, 6 days a week. Yeah, something like that. But Cole, you've been in the business for like what, almost a calendar year and a few months now?
Yeah, I'd say about a year and 4 months coming up to, so close to a year and a half.
Very good. Very good. Tell us a little bit about your story. I know you've been with us for quite some time now. But you've been working in the shadows. People don't know who you really are. They don't really know what you're really capable of the way that I do. No one cares about you the way that I do. All right? I'll never love you like I do, man, I swear. No, I'm just talking. But we can cut this out, please. But tell us a little bit about your story and like how you got in the business and like where you are right now.
Yeah.
Where you
Um,
are right
kind of coming into the business, I started at the practice company, as many people are familiar with in here. Came in from one of my old coworkers originally that I used to work with at a golf course. Was in college for a little while, ended up dropping out of college for the time being to do this sort of thing. Then we ended up transferring over here. So, started off playing college sports, got taken out of college sports due to injuries and stuff like that, and was like, I need to find something to do with my time if I'm going to come back home. So I decided to try out sales. So,
Fine, fine, fine. That was like a nice like humble way of like summarizing your story. Let's talk about like a little bit of like the trials and tribulations of like, you know, ups and downs of this business before we get into like what we're really gonna talk about today. Like, I want people to really figure out because I think like big misconception that a lot of people have, you know, you and me we're in like the same generation, right? So like a big misconception they have right now, especially with the way that this industry is moving, is that for our generation specifically, is that we're like silver spoon fed, and like we have like the upper hand or something, and like we have it easy somehow, some which way. But I mean, obviously, we go through our own like sort of versions of trials and tribulations to be able to even do these kind of numbers or be in this kind of business, right? We talk about it all the time, right? We're in the storytelling business, right? So tell us a little bit about that, man. Like
mhm.
we always, I mean, you had to get to a point where you were cracking 37,000 a month, right? You didn't just do that, right? Like what were the action steps that were taken? Talk about the first couple of months in the business, and then some things that like happened in your life, and then how you got to this point. And
Yep.
how did you drop this with? Well, I don't want to talk about it. It's fine. There's a lot of other stuff that's going on outside of here that I already know, but you got a lot of things going on. So talk about that.
Yeah, 100%. This business has more ups and downs than I could say any other thing that I've ever done does. I mean, I'm young, I'm only 20 years old, so I can't say that I have like a ton of experience doing a lot of other things. But when I first came in, I mean, I saw success pretty much right away. First appointment that I ever got on, closed back at the practice company. But then all of that ended up coming back. I got hit with some chargebacks, some things hit, and I had to get myself out of a chargeback hole when I first started. Um, but kind of taking it from last month when I did drop the best month that I ever have so far, you know, this might sound a little bit corny, but I kind of got put into that situation too. I got blessed with the opportunity to try out CallX, which was a great lead source for me, and I'm still continuing to do pretty well on it at this time. There's a lot of ups and downs. Every time that you have something really good happen, you got to be prepared for when, some chargebacks hit and stuff like that. But the more that you stay in your groove and the more that you find that pulse and you keep a steady pace at everything that you're doing, the more successful you're going to be at this. Once you start getting momentum, you can't really lose that momentum because all it's going to do is just kind of push you back to where you were before. So, when I started off, things were great. Things kind of went down like this, and it's been up and down. Right now, I'm kind of on the up, so I'm just going to keep riding it, ride that momentum, and keep doing what I'm doing as of right now.
Mm-hmm. I like that, man. I like that. I think we talk about that too, right? It's like, you know, when it's a common theme. It's like everyone when they make their money or they make like have a really good month, first thing everyone wants to do is, yeah, I made all this money. It's in my bank account. Now I'm gonna go and start doing what I need to do. But they forget to realize, I think you and I sort of had this too, is like when you come back into the business after taking like a week or two off, you're a little bit rusty, you know? I mean, we all are. That's what I'm saying. Not just you, but we all are.
Yeah.
Right. So, it's important to sort of, like you said, find that momentum piece, find your footing in that regard. And, once your boots are in the ground, hold them there.
Yeah.
So, very important. So, obviously, you on Call X, but before Call X, you were calling what? Majority MP?
Yeah.
Asian. Okay, cool. So, now you had a pretty, fast success rate on CallX, right? But like, what do you think is so unique about the platform, and why do you think most agents like fail on it too? Because like we know, not most agents, but a lot of agents, because we know that like, everyone's like sometimes they'll be like, oh, why can't I get on? Why can't I get on? It's like inbound calls. They think it's so sweet. They think it's so sweet, but like it's really not. Like any lead that you talk to, it's a lead for a reason. You're still going to get rebuttals. You're still going to get objections. You're still going to have to, your caliber of a consultant is still going to have to, be there. Right. So talk a little bit about that. Why do you think, what makes the platform unique? And then, why do you think, people have a tough time on it sometimes? Top producers too, sometimes. It's crazy.
Yeah. I think it is one of the best ways to talk to prospects. Seriously, I really do believe that. But I also don't think it's nearly for everybody. The thing about CallX is you've really got to be quick on your feet. These people are calling in for a specific reason. You really have to find that specific reason and take care of what they want to get taken care of. A lot of people think that just because it's inbound calls that you're always going to have laydowns, that all you got to do is just write an application. But when you have somebody that calls you that knows nothing about insurance and you're trying to get them from point A to point B, which is not having the product to having the product, you've got to keep that process as simple as possible and make sure you know your underwriting in order to get there. The first day that I did it was not successful at all. On my first day, I was like, well, maybe I'm not going to be good at this. But then I kind of took the mindset of, I'm going to make this work. And I really studied underwriting with different carriers, really, honed in on my product knowledge to be able to really be able to direct people to where they want to be. And that really helped me out with it because you've got to be able to convert people that are sometimes calling in for maybe customer service. Maybe they're calling in for a reason that you're not really that sure of. And you've got to figure out what that reason is, break it down with them, and also make sure it's affordable for them. The biggest thing that we like to stress is affordability, making sure that the person can actually afford the policy on a monthly basis so that they're not canceling 6 months down the line, just like the rest of all these different scripts kind of say and teach us. The biggest thing is really breaking it down with the people, understanding why they're calling in, taking care of their needs, but it's really not for everybody. You've got to have some experience calling different leads. You've got to know your underwriting. You've got to know your products, and you've got to know how to cater to different types of people, I would say. And that's, I feel like, a majority of why some people might not be able to do it as well. But we do have some, dogs that are on it right now that are also doing really, really, really good numbers on it. And I think it's due to that reason right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No doubt. Speed, right? You have to be able to move very quickly, right? On those. I think that's a big like it's probably a big thing big piece that people are missing is you think, the overview of thinking that it's an inbound lead is that yes, the person wants insurance. But we fail to realize that when someone wants insurance, there's like 10 steps that have already been skipped in that process compared to a lead that you're just calling, right? Because the lead that you're just calling, you're having to go to like the intro, you're gonna have to get around the initial objections, and then you get into like the meat of the conversation. You have the opportunity to like shave down the lead, right? Get the objections out of the way in the beginning. With an inbound, it's going from there's no warm up, right? There's no warm up. It's just boom. This is what I want. This is how I want it. Boom. And if it's not this way, kick rocks, right? And you have to be able to. You have to be on the quicks, right?
Good
Uh,
point. Everything about it is about using the right tone, the right wording. When somebody gets rated, say you're doing an Eagle Select, right? And they get bumped down to Eagle Select 2 or Eagle Select 3, and you're trying to find a way to use the right words with them to not say, hey, your rates just got increased. Instead, you're saying, hey, they're willing to accept you. Great news. They are willing to accept you here. They're just doing a little bit of a modification. So I have two more offers for you here. Let me know when you got that pen and piece of paper ready, and we'll decide which one you want to go with. It's about really level setting with these people, making sure that they understand what they're getting and, not letting them down. If they feel like they're let down at all, they'll click, they'll hang up on you, they'll ghost you, they won't talk to you. But if you use the right tone, right wording, you're going to find a lot more success with that.
hmm, very nice. Very nice. It's important, man. You got the tone for it as well, man. That's from what we've heard. I know we're gonna role play here in a minute, so just be ready for that. Um, but I kind of want to flip this on its head too. So, like, yes, you've seen success on call X inbounds, but you've also seen like relative success too on like other lead types too, right? Right. And this is what I want, the point I'm trying to get, right? It's like there are so many different leads in this organization, so many different types of leads. Like you have all the opportunity in the world. I genuinely feel bad for anybody who comes in here who like doesn't understand, like who doesn't find their footing. Like you got to try different types of leads. You got to try different things in order to be able to find like what works best for you, right? Like you tried MP, this thing, you're not a one trick pony, right? You can do multiple different things, right? But you seem to have found your footing in Call X, if I'm not mistaken, right? So
Yeah.
FE all that. But talk a little bit about MP, and like how do you think like MP, like your approach on MP differentiates from your approach on Call X?
Yeah. MP in my mind is bread and butter. I think everybody can kind of relate to that in here. I think it's the bread and butter of this agency. The best part about MP is you're almost always going to have qualified prospects, even if they have to go payment, whether they have to go pay off, whatever type they have to go. You've got people that have mortgages, homes, and they know what they want to protect. My success with MP, what, 10, 15,000 a month occasionally. Like, it wasn't anything crazy. And part of that was due to my work ethic, I would say. I feel like I could have definitely done more with it. However, I'm not going to lock myself into one lead source because I love CallX. I love the way it's working right now. I love the way I'm doing things with it. However, I need to be able to transition if something were to go south. Right? I'm not saying it's going anywhere. That's not what I'm saying at all. But in this industry, everything's changing every single day. There isn't a day that I have done this where I haven't learned something new. And with everything changing, you have to be able to kind of adapt to different lead sources. Take, for example, the Ethos abandoned carts, right? Eamon started calling those and he was like, man, these are amazing. You got to try these out. Well, I got a pack of 50 of them. Was kind of busy with CallX. Got one appointment set off of it. Closed one deal off it. Got 3,600 AP off that. One appointment, one deal. So that's kind of my other lead source that I'm going to start exploring a little bit. It's another great lead source to sort of look at. But the approach that's a little bit different with outbound versus inbound is like you were saying, being quick on your feet. You've got to kind of level set expectations with people, and each call is always different. Whereas with MP, you're protecting a home. You're going to get rebuttals with payment. But when it comes to inbound, you could be getting, objections over pretty much anything, and they could be looking for pretty much anything. They could be looking for an IUL, a term. Most of the time, it's FEX, but you're gonna have some people looking for terms, and you got to be able to kind of be really, really quick on your feet with CallX.
Okay, very good. That's the truth, man. That's the truth. You got a little bit more time to nurture the lead when it comes to other lead sources. So that's huge, man. Now, what's your take on this? I want to get your opinion on this, right? So we have a lot of new agents coming in, right? Inbound leads is something that we've just sort of like dabbled into. I mean, we've been in the beta phase probably for like the past, almost since like last May. But what's your take on new agents coming into the business and wanting to just hop on CallX with no sales experience?
It just, I feel like you're going to be sort of shooting yourself in the foot in a sense because, you've got to kind of get yourself established with knowing different products, knowing different carriers, and knowing how to handle different objections. And the way by doing that is starting with the bread and butter. MP is a great thing to start on because you're going to get a lot of experience talking to people. You're going to understand a lot of the main objections. That's when you want to go into inbound because inbound, it's expensive, right? And you don't want to start up an expensive lead source without knowing that you can close the lead. You have to take it piece by piece, start off with aged MP, and then you can slowly start building yourself up to better and better leads. The thing about better leads is all it does is just make it easier to talk to the person. When you're buying aged MP, it's just harder to get that person on the appointment. You got to put in more work. When you're buying new MP, it's easier to get that person on the phone because they most recently requested it, right? It's just easier to get in front of the people. But at the end of the day, you have to be able to close the lead that's in front of you. You don't want to be stuck with a lead that you're like, "Ah, I don't even know if I can close it. I just spent $70 on this lead. I don't even know if I can close it." You never want to be in that situation. Really hone in on your skills of underwriting, handling objections, and then it's something that you could definitely look into. I think it's a great thing for people to try out, but you don't want to start it off too early because it's going to get you discouraged if you're not closing all the time, and you really want to be knowledgeable on a lot of product knowledge, especially. So, not right away. Would not recommend it right away.
Very good. I couldn't agree more, man. First step is always learning how to close. Like you had to do too, right? You had to learn how to close, right? What if you got on a call X your first 3 months in the business? What would that look like for you, you think?
I think I would
Woo!
not have been doing too well on it. It's coming from practice company and having one type of product to cater to people was super easy because we were kind of just, pushing. Eamon, great point right there, actually. Me and Eamon at the practice company tried inbound calls together. We used a company that we found and we tried it out. However, we couldn't cater to those people with one product. It was impossible. We had people calling in for a lot of different things there, and we had one product to really try to cater to people. So it did not work at first when me and him tried it. What was that about? That was probably about a year ago, Eamon. Maybe a little bit longer. That did not work at first. I was not doing well with it. But, after getting experience in a lot of mortgage protection sits, that really honed my skills to be able to come in and I think make a little bit of a difference.
Yeah, big difference for sure. All right, very good. So let's do this. We do some role play. I'm gonna pull in somebody from the crowd. I want someone to throw on a rebuttal. I want them to know how Mr. Bull really is. If you gotta stand up for this, bro, you can stand up.
I'll do
But
it from down. I'll see what happens. Put me
all
on the
right, all
spot.
right,
Let's
all right,
go.
all right. Let me pick on somebody. Let's see here. Uh, come on. Can you hear me or are you on the phone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Throw Cole any rebuttal you want. Think of FEX rebuttals. Try and mimic them too. Actually, don't mimic them, please. But just throw them a rebuttal.
All X lead?
Anything, yeah, whatever it is. Yeah, call X stuff.
All right.
And then
all right,
paint
well,
the scenario. Paint the scenario, and then when the rebuttal is coming, and then hit him with the rebuttal.
well, he's gonna be giving me the objection, or am I gonna be giving him the objection?
You're gonna be giving him the objection.
Okay. So the scenario is I just called in. I'm 55. I have a need for final expense protection, but I can wait. At least I think I can.
Mhm.
Yeah, I'm just calling in, want information, just checking it out. He does his whole thing. I'm like, all right, Cole, well, thanks for the information. I'm gonna go ahead and speak to my wife about it. We can kind of go from there. I'll
Okay.
call you back.
One thing I will tell you is I don't usually run it without the wife there. I always pretty much double. So, but if I get in
But
this,
no. Well, let's say the wife is here.
perfect. Wife is here.
Mhm.
Okay. Most of the time, when somebody tells me that they need to, sort of look over these things, maybe I didn't give you enough information. Maybe I didn't clarify the policy enough. I mean, what sort of information would you be looking for, would you say?
I don't know, man. It's just, I mean, I saw this ad and just, I don't know. I just think we need to think about it. You said it's $80 a month, right?
Yeah, for that top option right there would be about $80 a month to cover the whole funeral.
Yeah, so that's about $1,000 a year. So I mean, I just called you, and 15 minutes later, we're talking about $1,000 a year. So it's kind of a big decision for us. My friend passed away. I saw what they had to go through, so we just need to think it over. Is this a good number to call you?
Yeah, 100%. This is the best number to reach back out to me. And you're going to get my personal office line, all of my information, so you could reach out to me in the future as well. The number one thing that I'm going to ask you is this something that you plan on doing at some point? Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we're pretty certain about that.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, because, this is something that's looked at with agent health rather than what I would say is current finances. My question to you, Kamal, is, we're looking at option number one there to cover the whole thing, right? You tell me, if you don't mind me asking, or don't take this the wrong way,
Mhm.
but with that $80 a month, do you think that would be, something unaffordable for you? Take food off the base or take food off your table, or do you think that would just be a little bit of an adjustment?
Just a little bit of an adjustment. I think we're good. I think we can afford it, but it is another monthly bill, and times are tough, and inflation is here, and we don't know what's going to happen with the economy and blah 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 blah. So,
I hear you 100%. Because if you told me that it was going to take food off the table, cause you to struggle financially, I'd tell you not to do it at all. But with it just being an adjustment, you tell me, Mary's sitting right next to you right now. If you were to pass away today, Mary, are you going to be able to come up with 20 to $25,000?
probably not.
Well, then I think you got your answer right there. It's something that you look at with agent health because if you plan on doing this later down the line, it only gets more expensive. One thing I would recommend to you is, we're looking at option number one right there. What most people do in your same situation is they kind of bump that down, start off with option three, because Kamal, what you can do with me, you're going to get my personal office line. You can reach out to me at a later time and you could say, hey, I want to bump that coverage up. I want to change my beneficiaries. We're going to stay in contact for a long time. The biggest thing is getting your agent health locked in right now so you have something in place rather than nothing. Later down the line, like I said, you could always call me to upgrade, go up to that option one. But, if you're telling me it's going to be an adjustment, you want to make sure that it stays affordable for you. What I would recommend is option three or two to make sure you got something in place and you could always upgrade later down the line. So, after hearing that, knowing that Mary's not going to be able to come out of pocket for that, would option two or three make more sense for you?
So you mean to tell me if I get a plan like, I don't know, 9 months, 12 months down the road, if I want to add more or decrease it, I can specifically go to you. You're not just saying that, and I'm not gonna call an 800 number and just get some random agent.
100%. I'm giving you my personal office line right after this. Good news is it's a cell phone, so I keep it on me. You can call me, text me at any time.
Mhm.
Uh, but it's more important just to get something locked in for the time being. Does not have to be option number one. But I mean, you tell me, if a funeral's $20,000 and she has at least 10 to take care of it, that's easier than the full 20,000, right?
Right.
So would 10 or 15 make more sense to you?
Yeah, Amen. Ion, this guy's good, man. He's
He cold. Drop a one in the chat for him. And you did it off the rip. Oh my, he got it on him. He got his direct cell line on him. God bless him. Drop a one in the chat. Oh my God. Oh my goodness gracious me. Good Lord, you cold. But you didn't even pick an option. Come on. You low key, you just came in with like 10 different rebuttals. You just did like 10. Not one. But damn, that was insane. Very good, Cole. I think everyone's losing their marbles right now, too. You guys are missing out on this. Man, feel bad. Let's do another one. Let's do another one. Very good. That was insane. Compose, compose. You're listening to the people first. Listening, really taking your time. And you're talking. This is how I know. Because we're gonna switch this over to MP in a minute, and I want to see how you switch it up. Because with FEX, you really got to do your due diligence when listening to these folks, right?
Mhm.
So, and making it make sense as well, making it make sense without making them feel overwhelmed, without making them feel like you're just selling them. Right? It's about how you're saying it and what you're saying. What would you say is the first thing a new agent needs to learn? How to say it or what to say first?
That's such a hard thing because it's like the biggest thing you want to do is listen more than you speak. Like, even though you're the one giving them the information, these people are coming to you with their problems. Like, an objection at the end of the day is just something that's holding them back. You just want to figure out what's holding them back and try to get them away from it, right? So it's like, listen to what the person's saying. If they're telling me, yeah, that $80, I could definitely afford it, but it's adding another bill on, that's only option number one there. Let's go ahead and bump it down, start you with something. Hey, I'll reach out to you in 6 months, 9 months, 1 year. We'll have each other locked down to where we can review it together, add coverage later on. So honestly, what to say is very important, but how you say it too. Because if I came across and I was just like, Kamal, is that $80 a month affordable? Or is that just going to take food off the table? Like, that's not going to sound right. But if I take my time and say, yeah, I completely hear you, man. My question to you, and don't take this the wrong way, is that $80 a month, is that affordable for you? Is it going to
Oh God.
it depends on how you say it. They're going to respond differently depending on how you say it. So they're equally important, but the way that you say it is super, 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 super important.
Of course. I was saying for a new agent, though, what is the best thing for them to master first? Because if
Tonality.
tonality,
Tonality.
tonality first, really.
Seriously, I think tonality is huge, huge because you can say all the right things, but if you say it the wrong way, it's not going to be read the right way, if that makes sense. You can say certain things, but if it doesn't come off the right way, you're not even using it the right way, if that makes sense. That's why I think tonality is super, super, super important.
Mm. Okay, that's an interesting take. So I was a big advocate of understanding what to say before understanding how to say it. Right? Because like how are you gonna be able to understand how to say something if you don't know what to say?
So this is kind of how I would say this. The
Yeah.
reason I say that is because the idea of rebuttals, you can have a script for rebuttals. Somebody can tell you like, hey, this is what you're supposed to say in this situation, but the same thing doesn't work for every single person. It's
No.
about knowing why you're saying the rebuttal in the first place to where you can say it in 10 different ways and it comes across the same way. If I'm trying to think of an example on how to use this, but there's times that you're using multiple different rebuttals for the same objection. So it's like you want to understand the basis of why you're using the rebuttal that you're using, but you need to say it the right way, or else it's not even going to be perceived the correct way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, of course, of course.
So I think
Sure.
it's equally as important. I couldn't put one above the other, but I think tonality is super, super, super,
Of
super
course.
important.
Very much so. Very much so. I was thinking like first. Script though, even saying too, script is very, if you have the script in front of you, it's easy to read. I think Brian has another one he wants to throw at you. Let's do it. You ready for another one?
Yeah,
Recharged?
yeah,
Recalibrate?
100%.
Brian,
Yeah. What up? What up?
morning. Let's let it rip.
Yeah, I just had like I know I came from Vivid Inside Sales, so this is the one that I just couldn't find out to do. So one of the rebuttals of bank account, right? They're just old, and had bad experience. They just don't like giving out their stuff over the phone. Just kind
Mhm.
of want to see how you do it without using the Patriot Act rebuttal, and I got to
Yeah,
verify your identity stuff. So let's
I
try
know.
that one.
So one thing that is a great rebuttal right there. However, I don't use it very often because I'm not big
Okay.
on making apps. If I'm getting an app through, I'm making sure
Uh-huh.
that I'm set on it.
Okay.
So most of the time, if I get a rebuttal on banking,
Hmm.
it's two reasons. Number one, they don't trust me, or number two, they don't have money. That's something
Okay.
that I've learned to realize. So a lot of
Okay.
times people don't give you bank because they don't have the money for the policy. But if it's just a trust factor with them, that's when I'm going to step back. Did you already, let's take for example, did you send them your field underwriter page yet or no field underwriter page?
Yeah. Let's say I've done everything. Good rapport. We related because our birthdays was 2 days apart. Just had a great conversation. I feel
Mhm.
could be different. I'm not sure. They gave me social like that. Super easy.
Mhm.
They have my NPN, and then yeah, let's just say everything was great, but they just had a bad experience back in the day and wants to probably try to get someone else to pay it, like my daughter. Maybe my daughter can help me do it. I just don't want to get my bank account because I've had a bad experience. I've had fraud and all that.
Yeah.
And then,
I completely understand where you're coming from there. This world, a lot of crazy things going on right now. That's why I had to read off to you a disclosure before we even got on this application. Brian, I like you. We've had a great conversation today, but it's not worth me getting a $250,000 fine or 10 years in prison. I'm just a button pusher at the end of the day to help you get this application sent in. Without doing this, I can't get you any sort of policy in place. If there's anything else trust-wise that you need from me, you have all of my information. You have my national producer number, my state licenses, my direct line to reach out to me, a way to look me up. What would sort of come for me to be able to, yeah, for you to be able to trust me enough in order to get you this policy in place? Would it be helpful if we got on like a video call together so you could see me? Or what would
oh
kind
no.
of out?
Well, I just got a flip phone still, and last time the rep actually came to my house, so I was able to do it in person with him. And I don't know how to use this phone. It's just a flip phone.
Yeah, no,
Can I mail a check? Can I give you a check instead?
yeah, I wish we could do that, but a lot of policies were lapsing once we started doing direct mail because somebody would go to the hospital for a week or something like that, maybe even forget their bills. So, a lot of insurance companies stopped doing that. And, the other thing is ever since COVID, everything kind of switched to virtual. This whole world has changed quite a little bit. It's a way to kind of protect you, protect me in this situation so we don't have to be doing a lot of those in-home visits. The biggest thing that I could tell you is I've been doing this for a while. It's not worth me risking a $250,000 fine or 10 years in prison over something like this. But for the most part, I can't really help you get this coverage in place without doing that sort of thing. Is there any more information that you would need from me to feel more comfortable, would you say?
Uh, no, I'm just so used to old school. Can you just send someone out here to me, and then once I can see him, then I could do it. Because I don't. Yeah, I just I've been scammed before. So
Mhm.
how about a card?
A card. I got you.
So I ran into America, and America doesn't take cards. So this is the next. This is legit one of my calls. So
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we could definitely go with a company that would be able to take like a direct express card or a credit card or a debit card or something like that. However, this company's offering you, the best chance of approval at the lowest monthly rate. I don't want you paying more for your coverage than what you should be paying in the first place. I have the routing number right in front of me since it populates my system. What I'm going to do is I'm going to read it off to you, verify that I have the correct one, and then we'll go from there. How does that sound?
yeah, you can do that. Yeah, I don't want to give out my account number. Maybe I got to think about it first and see if my kids can pay for me.
Gotcha. So the thing is, with where you're kind of leading with the rebuttal is this is when I would
Mhm.
question the affordability. Because if
Mhm.
somebody isn't giving me
Okay.
back this much, that's my
Okay.
question of, do they even have
Yeah.
the money in the account for something like
Yeah.
this? Do they
I'll
even
do that next time. Yeah,
stand
because I
sort of
didn't
thing?
think about that exactly. Because that's like I said, like this is legit 2, 3 of my calls, and I'm like, man, like what else could I do? And definitely I could, build the trust, but I've never used the affordability, so I'll do that one. I've never heard that one, so that's a good one. So
Rarely
yeah,
do I have people not giving me bank because of trust. Like,
yeah, they're old, so it's gonna be like a little bit more. It's gonna be like 100, $200, so that makes sense. So yeah,
yeah,
because I was like, if it's $30, I don't think they'd bark at that. So
yeah. The one
yeah.
thing I would tell you is the reason that if you're getting, stopped on banking a decent amount, is it happening a decent amount or kind of
No, these are just like couple. But I'm like, dude, I literally got everything they wanted, and I thought we had a good conversation. I think it's
so
either one off.
everything is going great up until banking?
Yeah, just they've been scammed before. They legitimately had a hard time e-signing. They could get the text verification code. I almost jumped over. Do you want to do a Zoom with me? And I was like, shoot, should I look like this in a Zoom? But then they wouldn't even know how to get on a
Put on a
Zoom.
nice background, you put on a
Yeah,
suit,
yeah,
you get on Zoom with them.
yeah.
You know,
So I was gonna get their kids to get on a Zoom. So I'm chasing one right now where I'm trying to get their kids to do on a Zoom with me and her, so she can kind of see who I look like. So
yeah, you've got to combat that objection early on.
yeah,
You've got to, even if you thought that you had a really good conversation, you got to make sure the rapport is built before getting it. You also have to be super assumptive while getting banking. The
okay,
thing
yeah,
is when I'm getting banking, I'm just super, super assumptive with it. Okay, and then what's the name of the financial institution that you'll be using for the policy? And it's
yeah,
not like, oh,
okay,
we're just getting this in just to validate that it's you. No, this is an ACH draft. The policy is going to
mm-hmm,
draft this every single month on the first of the month to
mm-hmm,
ensure that your policy doesn't lapse, right? That's
okay,
how I'm combating banking. And if they end up dinging on that right there, then I know
mm-hmm,
that I wouldn't have wanted to write them anyways because I'm not just
okay,
going to tell them that I'm getting an application and because I don't
okay,
want them to get their
mm,
first draft and then they end up canceling on me because they're like, oh, I didn't want to end up going through with it. So,
yeah, okay, cool,
really just establish that in the beginning, really make sure that you're having a good conversation. Also, like I
cool,
said, probably 90% of the time somebody doesn't give me bank, the first thing I'm thinking of, they don't have the money for this. They
okay,
don't. They just,
I end
they
up
don't have
budget.
the money for it. And that's when you got to go back and ask them, hey, don't take this the wrong way. I just want to make sure this is something reasonable for you. Do you think that,
Cool. Yeah,
$124 on a monthly basis, do you think that's going to be an adjustment or do you think that's going to take food off the table?
okay,
Retalk to
cool,
them, give them that consulting aspect, and then maybe you can go back and combat the banking objection once you get that out of
cool. No, I like that. Appreciate it. Yeah.
the way.
Big
Mhm.
value, man. Big value. A lot of it. Let's do now we'll flip it on its head from Call X. I think everyone kind of gets a general understanding of that. Let's do a MP one real quick. Who's on MP here? I know, let me see. Let's see who's on MP. Layden, I know you're calling MP. I know
Yeah,
everyone.
what, like give an objection?
Give him
What
one.
are
Yeah.
some objections that you're getting a lot with MP?
Um, I think, I think my worst one, like consistently, is probably like, just a typical need to talk to the wife, need to think about it, something, something, something. And then, I do my word tracks, try to overcome it. And then after like 2 or 3 attempts, if they're not doing it, kind of have to let it go. And then maybe the follow-up gets ghosted or it just like falls through the cracks, something like that.
Mhm. Yeah, one thing, don't run MP sits without the wife present. Always,
Okay.
always make sure. Even in the beginning of the script, I don't even have the script pulled up in front of me, but it even asks, do you have a co-bar or a spouse or, any of those sort of things? Never, never, never run a sit without the wife being there.
Okay.
It's an objection. You can't always handle it. If the wife isn't there and the guy's like, hey, we've been married for 40 years and I need to go talk to my wife. This is something that we do always together. Always, always, always make sure the decision makers are there ahead of time. You want to
Even
make sure both of them are there.
okay, yeah, that's a good point. Well, I mean, what if I ask like, do you have a spouse or co-bar on the loan? It's like, yeah, my wife. I'm like, okay, so does she need to be present for this? And like, what if they're like insistent that like, no, I make the decision, she doesn't need to be here. Do you still like insist or do you let it go at that point?
You don't ask, you tell them. So
Okay.
it's a difference in saying like, do you think your wife should be present? Well, because you're the consultant here, right? You're the professional. They want to see you as a professional. So you've got to be the professional in the situation. I don't mean be like, no, dude, your wife has to be here. Don't say it like that, right? It's more of along the lines of, these are sort of decisions that a husband and wife makes together because she's going to be the one picking up the pieces when you pass away. Is that correct, Layton?
Mhm.
Got it. So we want to make sure she's informed on how the policy works, how the claim process works, so that when that time comes, she has no confusion about it. So when we have this conversation, it's just something that, both of you guys got to be present for. Like I said, it'll take maybe 30 minutes or so, but at least she has full knowledge of it. That way, nothing's getting misconstrued once, you get a policy in place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Got it. So are you two usually more available in the mornings, afternoons, or evenings together, would you say?
Evening.
Okay, perfect. And then that's when I go to an appointment set. So it's like you have to assume, and you have to be the one to tell them, you guys got to be together for this sort of thing. These decisions are made together. If something happens to you late, and we want to make sure that the pieces, are easy for her to pick up and she's not confused on where to go, where the policy number is, what's in place. She knows exactly what it is. That way you guys can plan together. Sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. That's you just never want to run it without the
Yeah. Yeah. I probably should have picked up on that. So anyway, so initially when you ask the question and they're like, yeah, I have a wife, my wife's on it. Do you go like, okay, is she present right now? Or like, is she available to speak right now? And if they say no, then you're like, what's your exact?
I engage both, always be engaging both. So this goes for call X, MP, any type of lead source that you're running. With not being able to see them, see, the thing is we used to sell on Zoom back before, but with not being able to see them, you have to make sure you're engaging both, using both of their names, right? John, if something were to happen to you, Mary, what would be the plan when he passes away? You're using both names at once, and you're getting them to talk together. Because if you're only talking to one of them, then the other person's going to feel excluded. If the other person feels excluded, they're going to want to say no, or they're going to want to say, I need to think about it, or they're going to say, don't get it, don't get it. And you're not even going to be able to see what they're doing behind it. So the number one thing you want to do is use both names and really engage both people because then you'll be able to kind of tell where both of them are coming from and then say at the end, yeah, this is something we need to talk about together. Perfect. I 100% agree with you. And that's why we're doing this right now. What I'm going to do for you guys is, you guys tell me sort of what you guys are thinking. I'm kind of, the ones that's going to be helping you out with this sort of thing. What sort of questions do you guys have about the coverage together? Like what sort of things are you guys going to be looking at? And always give them a way out too. So like when they say, yeah, can we call you back in 2 days? For sure, 100%. Yeah, I'm looking at Thursday. And then, for our notes for the next time we speak, what sort of things do you want prepared? What sort of things do you want me to get prepared for you for the next time we speak? And then it's going to give you another chance to go back with them and talk over with them.
Okay. Yeah, I mean that's a great point, but I meant more so on the initial call, you find out the guy has a wife. Like, do you ask if she's like available to speak right then and there? And then if she's not, like, how do you go about phrasing it to make it clear to him that she has to be there and you got to set it for a different time when she is?
Yeah, if I'm going for the one, are you talking about like a one call close, like right then and there?
Well, no, so let's say, I'm calling the lead for the first time, find out he has a wife, and then I ask if she's, there right now, and she's not. She's like, no, he's like, no, I'm at work. She's at home right now. Are you like, okay, well, this is typically something that, we need both the husband and wife present. Like, is that how you're approaching that to get the set and make it clear to him that you have to set it for a different time? Like, how do you say that?
Yep, you just answered it right there. So the
Okay.
number one thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to tell them, hey, we want to make sure that you two are together for this because John, if you were to pass away, Mary's going to be the one picking up everything, right? Yep, 100%. So we want to make sure you guys are together. That way you guys are both informed on it. And with you being at work anyways, I don't want to distract you from work. I want to make sure you're sitting down, pen and piece of paper so you can write down notes, ask me questions. That way you're fully informed. What time do you usually get off work?
6 p.m.
6 p.m. Perfect. Later this evening, I have a 7 p.m. to give you some time, and I also have a 7:30 available. That way you guys can be together. Which one would work best for the both of you?
7:30.
Perfect. You just want to break down the times with them. Make sure they are together. And when you're phrasing it, don't be like, "Yeah, John, we need your wife there." But it's like inquisitive with them, right? Use that Jeremy Lee Minor tone. Jeremy Lee Minor is like the number one guy that I watch of like, you know, if you were to pass away, John, she'd be the one picking up the pieces, right? You want to make it make sense for him because people just want it to make sense too. Like, why does my wife have to be here? Well, your wife has to be here because she's going to be the one picking up the pieces, or maybe even she's going to need coverage too. You guys might get coverage on both of you, depending on how things are split. So really just help them understand why you need both of them present. And if they're really, really, really insisting, no, just me, just only talk to me, you know, you don't want to do that because then at the end you're just going to get I need to go talk to my wife and there's nothing you can do about it at that point. So just make sure they are together in the best way
Yeah.
possible. That answer that, or do you want me to
No,
clarify?
yeah, that's great. That's great. So you never run a one leg even if they're super insistent.
No, unless I
Okay.
mean there's times with call X I sometimes run one leggers. If the guy's like, yeah, my wife already knows that I'm getting the coverage. I just had some time to call in right now and get it. Okay. That's completely fine. There's times that I do, but with MP, never single leg. Never, ever, ever.
Yeah. No, you're right. I totally need to start doing that. That's been an issue for me.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's go. Very good, man. Leighton, was that helpful to answer your question?
Yeah, it was great.
Very good. Anyone else? Anyone have uh Eric Cruz seems to be having a good time. Eric Cruz, you calling what kind of leads you calling? You calling MP or what?
I can't hear you. Come again?
So you calling MP or are you calling call X?
Oh no, I'm just getting started here. I'm just kind of like I do this kind of like part time, trying to get going here. But I kind of like the guys' insight on the tonality part, to where if you're direct and you're knowledgeable about the product, how it comes across, like you're informative, and then the inquisitive part about that, kind of hits home base for me. All right,
No
I
doubt.
appreciate it, Cole.
No doubt. No doubt, man.
100%.
Well put.
Tonality is seriously one of the most important things. I mean, most of the time that I'm using my tonality, I'm using, like I said, Jeremy Lee Minor. He's one of the best guys to watch because people, if they feel like you're trying to help them out with something, they're going to want to help you back. It's that questioning tone that I think really drives people to trust you and realize that you're actually trying to help them out. So,
Yeah, no doubt. Does anyone have any more questions for MP, or are we good? We can go and continue here. Anything else anyone's struggling with? All right, cool, man. Last thing before we wrap this up, man. I know you're obviously coming off a great month. We talked about momentum and things like that. 2025, man, is gonna be a hell of a year, for all of us and you for sure. What exactly is like your plan, for the future, like in this industry as a whole?
yeah. Um,
It's year two now. It's year two, so.
Yeah, I mean that's a super broad question, but to put it simply, just to get better every single day. Every
Mhm.
single thing that I'm doing. Better, 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 get better. The mistakes that I made in the past were taking too much time off, losing momentum, but that's me being young. I mean, I'm 20 years old, left out of school after doing everything that I did in college and then saying, I'm going to come in, I'm going to lock myself into this sort of thing. One thing I could tell you, Eric, part-time is hard at first because you really got to kind of immerse yourself into everything to really get used to everything. And, the more time that you can put into it, the more you're going to get out of it. But I mean, coming up to the future, I just want to get better with every single thing that I do. And I also want to know that, I can never get comfortable with where I'm at. I can never, settle and say like, hey, there's nothing to learn today. I already learned everything. No matter how long I'm doing this for, I'm always going to be learning something every day. So, my goals for moving forward, get better every single day, take it one piece at a time.
Beautiful, beautiful, man, beautiful. And lastly, any advice you have for new agents? What's that kind of
Study
time?
and work. Work.
Mhm.
Especially when you're dialing aged MP and stuff like that, you got to put in the hours. You got to know when prime time is. You have to know when the good times to dial, good times to set appointments, good times to run appointments. You have to put in that work. The beauty about this business is you have flexibility and you have free range, but what does that mean exactly, right? It means that you have to take the initiative to be proactive and say, hey, in the morning, I'm getting up at 6:30 in the morning, so I can be on the phones at 7:30 and start calling leads that are on 8:30 a.m. or something like that, so I can set appointments while people are going to work. You have to be knowing when those times are. The best times to dial in the morning, usually around 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Sometimes I would dial a little bit before then to make sure that I'm catching people on the way to work, get them set for appointments when they come home from work. That way I'm setting appointments in the morning, running appointments in the evening. You got to put in that work, really study your products, understand each different type of product and how it caters to different types of people, and just run with it after that. Run with it. Get on as many appointments as possible, talk to as many people as possible, run practice sits with every other new agent. If you guys are in a room and you don't know somebody else and they're also a new agent, say, hey, man, or hey, nice to meet you. Let's go into another room. Let's practice things together and actually be hard on each other too. The one thing when I started practicing scripts and stuff like that, and I'm practicing with new agents, is we wouldn't give each other objections. And that's not realistic. An objection is how you get the sale. When you're getting objections and you have multiple objections and you still get it through, that's how you know you actually got the sale. The ones that are a little bit scary is when it's yes, 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 and everything was a yes. Those are the scary ones. So practice the objections together, practice the scripts together, and just realize that no matter how long you're doing this for, you're always learning. Always, always learning.
No, student of the game, always. You know that. Appreciate you, man. I think that's pretty much everything else from my end. I think this is super helpful for everybody here. We need to get you up on here again. Hopefully, even have you run one of the back to basics calls or something. So, other than that, man, I appreciate you giving us your time and everything like that today. And hopefully we'll see you again.
Yeah, 100%. I appreciate this. Appreciate it.
No doubt, man. No doubt. If you guys are new here, you guys can like, comment, subscribe on our YouTube. This will be uploaded by next Monday. You guys can, show this to your team. You can, rewatch and take notes. I think there's some extremely huge value adds here that you guys can even add to your own scripts, right? So take that in mind. But other than that, that's pretty much everything in mind. Appreciate you guys.